Stipco live with you. Welcome back to New York City. My favorite place, at least today. Anyways, no, actually, it is my favorite place. Today's guest, great guy. He goes, we have kind of a personal history. We go back a little ways because my significant other and he were both on a little show that you may have known called All My Children, which who knows what the future of that show is.
It just wrapped up. Their very, very last episode just aired. I mean, I certainly have a lot of friends that were on.
Wow.
It's really in limbo. They're actually discussing this company, Prospect Park, picking it up and doing like a web streaming continuation of it. And It's like very up in the air, which if any actors want to stay on with that, and the producers are all, it's very undefined situation right now.
Josh Folan. I guess we should probably introduce him in case you don't already know him. Josh has got a couple movie projects going on, one of which is finished, and you're getting into
just hitting distribution literally within the last month.
All right, so let's talk about it. Introduce the movie and tell me a little bit about it.
The film is called All God's Creatures.
Right.
We are calling it a romantic thriller. Boiled down, my simple man pitch of it is it's a love story between a serial killer and a prostitute. A very, very dark love story.
It's a common story.
Yeah, Disney-esque material.
Right, yeah.
No question. And that's something that principal photography was in March of 2010, and we had some hang-ups, as smaller indie projects often do in post. Fiscal related and just the workflow didn't work out the way we wanted to. But we did finally finish it. Kudos to us as independent filmmakers.
Yeah.
So
wait, before you go too much past that, so you're shooting, directing, and acting in it?
All God's Creatures was I wrote.
Yeah.
At least the first 7 drafts. We brought a really amazing ghostwriter playwright on to polish up the things that I couldn't polish or I couldn't figure out as a first-time feature film writer.
Right.
And then I also produced, which is something I've been doing for a while. I have a business background. I went to school at Ohio State for finance, so business is something I've always had a interest and acumen in.
Then why did you run out of money? What happened?
Because people weren't doing their jobs, and all I can do is set it up, Aaron. I can't knock it all down. My job as a producer is to set it up and hope these elements that I plug in can knock it down. And I apparently made a bad call. But these are learning experiences. That's the first feature that I was producing, and I certainly learned some things that I've been able to carry over into the second film, What Would Bear Do, that I just shot. And those mistakes definitely helped in doing this one better.
It's a process. I mean, making a film, there's so many components.
It's ridiculous.
So many things that you don't think about, even though you went through all the manuals, all the checklists.
Yeah, I don't know how, given I didn't go to film school, so of course I'm not going to, get the ultimate value of it, but I don't understand how a classroom setting could ever prepare you for the requirements of getting on set and shooting a film. It's just there's so many intangibles.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could plan for it from like a book. Or
who makes the best producers, I think, are guys that began as crew. Because really, producing from the ground up, it's everything. I mean, the grip issues, the lighting issue, all those
technical
things.
acumen is huge.
Those are the things that kill you. Money wise, forget about the distribution and all making the deals. Just making the film will kill you.
Yeah, no. The production phase itself, no matter how much you pour into the pre-production and how much you end up pouring into post-production, and even development. Ultimately, what makes or breaks a project is no question that crazy 21 days or whatever you have as an independent filmmaker to shoot a film. And ours, All God's Creatures was certainly crazy, but we...
How did that work for you? So you tell me walk me through the process. The first thing you do is you call up some of your buddies, or did you do formal casting for the leads? And all?
Yeah, for the lead girls, absolutely. We did a formal casting process. As far as the development time frame, as I said, it was my first feature that I was writing, and I love the final product of writing, but I hate writing. I'm just by nature a very active person, and sitting in a room locked to a computer, figuring out how to tell a story is the hardest thing of filmmaking that I've found. But it is also one of the most redeeming.
How much time did it take between when you sat down
concept?
and from concept to the first word that you actually type? Was it one of those stories where you?
I think I hammered out the first.
It was a dark, stormy night.
Yeah, the first internal shitty apartment in New York City came out pretty quickly. Right. The first scene came out pretty quickly, but as far as from concept, which was like June of 2008, to the first draft that we really considered producing was probably, I think it was late November of 2009. So that's about a year and a half I spent just sitting in a room alone before I could convince my co-producer and then the two co-directors, which is pretty the four of us. Ryan Charles, Frank Licata were the directors, and Matt Jarrett was my co-producer. The four of us were kind of the four spearheads for the project, as many people as that we ended up bringing on over the course of it. But to convince them that it was a producible project took about a year and a half. And as I said, from there, we ended up bringing in ultimately, like even into which number one rule in producing a film, have a script ready to go before you turn the camera on. Or at least decide to turn the camera on.
Who'd have thunk?
Yeah, exactly. But there's a certain element of, especially again, this is all of our first feature films or all of our first features. From making them ourselves. I've been acting for a while, and I've certainly done plenty of movies from that standpoint. But it's obviously a very different process when you're the one making it happen. So.
It's funny, you say that Darlene is working on a TV show now that they're shooting here in New York City. And yesterday's shooting, she was in a hospital gurney, for like the entire scene, and it wound up being all day. So all day long, she's on her back. No jokes. All day long, she's on her back, and she's staring up in the rafters, which is not something that an actor is typically doing, right? So all day long, and she couldn't get up for a lot of the things because she was IV'd and the nose tubes and all the business, So she's like, honey, I couldn't believe it. There's so many people up in the rafters, and there's so much gear. And every time they say cut, there's like 15 guys resetting lights. I had no idea.
CBS has a slightly bigger production budget than we did for All God's Creatures.
Yeah, couple of dollars more. But I mean, that's like a mini cosmos of what yours was a mini cosmos of what she just experienced, and that you realize all the other things that are happening behind the scenes.
You certainly, like I said, you can't even begin to grasp.
Even reality TV has scripts.
I produced reality, and then as I was telling you before we flipped the cameras on, I also was hired to produce for Chinese television. It was a reality scripted drama hybrid, and clearly, obviously, there were scripted elements, but even the reality portion of that, and of course the reality show itself, were very much outlined.
I love Chinese TV.
It was. The things that my executive producer on that project, which is called Pageant Girls, was the hybrid one, most recent. That's she's working with Cinevision to hopefully get it out there. But I was surprised at the things that were important to her, and there was so much. That was a big learning experience for me because everything I produce is obviously for American market in mind. And there's certain things that obviously that differs from the Chinese market, as you're saying. It was amazing the things that were priorities for her.
Do you speak Mandarin?
I don't. I speak a teeny bit of Korean. My girlfriend's Korean, but I do not speak any Mandarin now.
안녕하세요. So, All God's Creatures. Are you the serial killer?
I am.
So, was that a secret, or is it?
No, not a secret at all. Okay. No, that's very much on the box cover.
And was that intended, like from word one of the script? How you thought, okay, how?
Well, I sat in a room, and I'm an actor, so I sat in a room and wrote this script, and there's no question that I wrote it with me in mind, and that's just a natural tendency, I think, of an actor. But that said, as from a producer standpoint, when I went walking into the project and we were first sitting talking, if we'd have had the money to go out and find someone that could sell a movie more quickly than I am able to, just by name alone, I certainly would have considered that. Ultimately, our production budget was $20,000. We ended up finding another $5 in post to tie up some loose ends. But very little money. So clearly, I was the cheapest option. You didn't even have to feed me.
Right. Nice.
So that was the ultimate decision maker. Although it luckily worked out great, and I think we got what we wanted out of me.
Let's take a little clip. This is All God's Creatures. Check it out.
All successful guys know how to play the game. You just got to stay aloof, not worry about results. Be cool, maybe just a little cool. Take them to the edge of their comfort zone and insecurities, then pull back so you don't damage their fragile little hearts too much. You have to approach them from a position of power. The second you show you care, you've lost them.
May we never regret this.
All the great ladies' men knew this. Robert Mitchum, John F. Kennedy, Ted Bundy.
All right, all God's creatures. Wow. Wow, dude.
Dark, as I said.
Very nice.
Dark.
I got to say, so let's see, 2008, that's right about when, and it's still a huge hit show, but Dexter's pretty huge right now, you know, serial killer Dexter.
Yeah, we of course get a lot of comparisons that way. I think the number one, like, you know, that Hollywood this meets this kind of thing that we've tagged to it is Dexter meets Love Actually.
Oh, there you go. Love Actually was the film?
Love Actually, yeah.
Oh,
phenomenal
great film.
Phenomenal.
My God, one of the best films. I'm not kidding. It's like I watched it.
I love those interwoven storyline things.
And why don't people know more about that film, too?
I don't know, man. A lot of people don't know about a lot of great films. And that's one of the big things, like my big mantra about like what my production company is about, and my co-producer on this, and we work together on a lot of things, is like changing the films you like to watch. Like everyone bitches and gripes about what's in the theaters and this and that, but if you don't not go see that movie, you are enabling that same next rehash of that movie to be in the theater a year from now, because studios are companies.
Right.
It's all fiscally oriented, and all they're doing is looking at past things and trying to emulate whatever's worked in the past, because that's the easiest thing to do.
That's why the same 11 actors work in every single movie on the planet that's in the... But getting back to Dexter, when you were sort of pitching it to your partners or anyone else that was going to throw money at it, were they kind of going, dude, Dexter? Been there.
No, because actually the films that in the pitch phase, the films that we compared this to were very small indies. An Edward Furlong movie called Jimmy and Judy. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Great love story, like a really, really twisted little love thing. And then Wrist Cutters, a love story, which is again really both two the examples of great movies that no one saw. Which is crazy, right?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. All right, so you're writing this through. It's similar to Dexter, or at least. Maybe the only similarity is the fact that
serial killer,
right? Okay, $20,000. Looking at that trailer, I mean that's a $20,000 trailer, and you did the whole film on $20,000 plus $5,000 in post.
Yep.
It was the 20 production and $5,000 in post, or did you just need $5,000 more?
Five. We spent $5,000 on like even distribution costs. Like our first hard printing of DVDs that I picked up right before I left for What Would Bear Do, at the beginning of September. Excuse me. Was literally the extinguishing of our funds, which is kind of crazy. Is producing and budgeting. That's a good job.
Yeah, no, I got to tell you, congratulations on that feat alone. Because knowing what it takes to produce stuff. I mean, $20,000, $25,000 for that.
It required a lot of creative solutions. Like the opening, the story I always tell, as far as like finding ways to make things happen with no or little money, were the opening titles, which obviously not included in that trailer. But when you see the film, they're unbelievable. They're very the opening titles to True Blood, how that erratic kind of choppy whatever. This graduate student at Columbia, Valerie Lazinski, is the one who designed our titles, and she's just an incredible job. But I found her. Knowing we needed opening titles and knowing we had no money for it, I emailed around to all the film schools out in California and in New York, and I asked the head of department if they had anyone who was looking to get in at the ground level with a group of filmmakers that making their first feature film and wanted a feature film credit, but there's no money involved, and the Columbia department got back to me with Valerie, and she knocked those babies out in like a month's time, and they are unbelievable. But that's the kind of thing, the solution you have to find an avenue to get to.
Yeah.
As a filmmaker at this level, because you just, the money's not there. So,
what about union stuff? Did you have union issues?
This was all non-union across the board, crew and cast.
Wow. Yeah, people don't realize, you got your Bruckheimers and Spielbergs. That's great. They make films, but they also have like 11 zeros in their budget, and you
infinite amount of resources.
Yeah, so come on.
It's not
come on, Jerry.
It's that they pay people to be creative for them. That's what it is, as much as
we're not knocking them as filmmakers.
No, by no means. Yeah. And certainly Spielberg has made some great movies. Right. But couple great
one
movies.
Or two. All right, so tell me about the lead girls in the movie.
Okay. So the lead girl, Jessica Kay.
Yeah.
Her prior to working with her biggest claim to fame was One Life. She had a nice role on One Life as a crazy girl, which I didn't watch One Life, so I wasn't aware that was what the role was when we were casting her. But it ended up working out very well for the material. Because
don't spoil the film, but tell me when you're casting him, do you go, okay, let's see, how would she look getting killed?
Or do you
is there like a blood test thing? You cut and check spurt levels?
There were certainly rules for this that we had to have that in mind. How would they approach getting killed? That's certainly an aspect we had to deal with.
And do you ask them? Do you say, now, will you mind
we were getting we were very, because not a lot of money was going out to the cast in this film, and for that reason, because there's nudity issues or not nudity issues, but nudity elements in this, you certainly have to be very straightforward within the casting process about what the role is going to entail, and hopefully convey a level of professionalism that makes them comfortable with it. Right. So very very much so. We certainly had to lay it all out there for them, and for the lead girl, we actually went through.
Intended.
For the lead girl, we had to go. We cast a girl. She ended up pulling out probably a month after casting her, which obviously we cast her probably 2 months out from the start of filming, March 1st, and so we had about a month to scramble and replace her, and we ended up getting in a negotiation with another girl, and her agent and I couldn't come to terms, so we ended up going a third direction. That's how we ended up with Jessica Kay, who happened to be. It's funny. I was having lunch with my acting agent, for reasons completely unrelated to the movie, and I brought up that we were going into production on this and that we were having troubles with the lead actor, and my agent Bill Dewey literally yelled at me. He's like, "You're telling me that you're having issues finding an actor, and what I do for a living is sell actors, and you didn't come to me about this." And I was like, "I'm sorry."
Did you see a sharp drop off in bookings from that point forward? All right, so All God's Creatures. Right now, it's they can see more about it from allgodscreaturesfilm.com. Okay, that's number one.
DVD is for sale on the website.
There you go. So, any other release other than DVD?
Yeah, absolutely. We're working. We're certainly talking to the customary distributors. We have a couple meetings next week. Actually, Matt and I do. But we're also going. One of your jobs as an independent filmmaker today is understanding that it's your job to get it out there yourself as well. And we're certainly going to a number of digital distribution, VOD platforms. We actually just got picked up by IndieFlix, which is an amazing aggregator. They have amazing relationships with Amazon VOD and Hulu and Netflix VOD, iTunes, all those. We got picked up by a new company called Prescreen, which they're a VOD platform. They're doing
so all this stuff should be visible on the site, and they can check it out.
Absolutely. I mean, it's they're coming into fruition as we speak. Because like I said, we just went into the distribution phase with a finished copy of the movie about a month ago.
Congrats.
So they're all right.
allgodscreaturesfilm.com.
Correct.
Before we go to break, I want to play a little video clip that you may or may not know that we've got. It's a demo reel of sorts. Well, of course you know it because you cut it together. But this is a little bit of Josh Folan. Is it okay we play this?
Yeah, absolutely. So the acting demos.
This is the Acto demo reel of Josh Folan. So we're going to see a little bit and go ahead and talk.
Some of my finest work.
Go ahead and give me some dialogue over your demo reel. So make sure all our mics are on there, Julian. because we want to talk. He's going to talk us through his demo reel for our last minute and 55 seconds.
Okay, this is I Love You, which is a Turkish film I did in Turkey in summer of '09 with Steve Guttenberg, Mariel Hemingway, and Katie Gill.
Right, please, let me go.
4 American actors, and there were a number of really amazing Turkish actors in it as well.
Are these are your real tattoos?
Yeah, they are.
All right.
Yeah, it's a comedy. It's kind of like an international Meet the Parents is how I describe it.
Right.
This is,
of course, all
my children work here. Michael Knight, an amazing guy, and great actor as well.
Did you ever have trouble getting out of soap and into other films, other TV?
I mean, literally, it opened so many doors for me. This is the first, mainstream gig I ever booked, and it did, amazing things for me. This is The Graduates, which is an amazing little indie comedy by a filmmaker, Ryan Guillen, who is probably the most accomplished, below studio level independent filmmaker in New York. He's incredible. He's had a film, Turtle Hill, Brooklyn, that just debuted at a festival here in New York. That's unreal.
Is that Hemingway?
Yeah, that's Hemingway. It's Gutenberg, and this is more from The Graduates. A scene that my reel editor talked me into doing, and apparently was the sole reason I booked the Turkish film, according to the Turkish director. He wanted me to do that.
The Beck flex?
Yeah.
All right.
But I was totally against showing that or having that scene in my reel, and my reel editor talked me into it. So.
All right, man. Josh Folan. We'll be back in a second. I want to talk about your next film coming up.
Great.
And maybe a little more.
Cool.
Josh Folan, Stipco Live. Be right back.